Thanks for joining us tonight for a Dreamtime Transmission. Hopefully, these dreams help you drift into sleep easily. I would greatly appreciate it if you liked and subscribed before you drift off. New videos are released every night, so join us tomorrow if you like. Thank you, and good night.
From Frosty Champion 36-1. Tonight I had this weird dream. I remember only a short part of that dream. I was in my bed, and from the ceiling there was a bright light, and from the light there was a hand coming out, and it was pulling my hand, trying to make me leave my body. I was kind of scared and resistant. I prayed to God, and it did let me go. I woke up at that exact moment, shivering in cold sweats. It was kind of scary. I have been feeling super depressed, and even praying that something could happen to me so my suffering could end. I don't know. Maybe it was a sign that I don't really want to die? Pretty weird dream. Has anyone experienced something like this?
From Alley KBB. Hi everyone. Here it goes. I dreamt that a coworker I like was pregnant. In the dream, it was not clear if she was pregnant from me or from somebody else. The chances that she was pregnant from me were almost none, because in the dream I was almost certain that we had never had sex. However, this was not completely clear in the dream, which is kind of weird. When I found out about this in the dream, I felt excited. My coworker is a deeply religious person, so I asked her to marry me. She was hesitant and didn't know what to do. I had the feeling she wanted to accept my proposal, but then she had decided herself for another person. Little was known in the dream about this other figure or person. All I remember is that this other figure seemed somehow older than my coworker and could be seen as a more secure choice. This seemed to have been the logic of her decision in the dream. I tried to contact her and talk to her about it in the hopes that she would marry me, but she wouldn't answer my calls or talk to me. This in the dream seemed to make both of us sad.
From Benzamat the Goat 3. So I had a dream last night where me and other girl were in a dark house with thunder outside. We were attending some class G because I saw teacher 2. I barely know this girl, IRL. We just go to same school, that's it. And in dream, me and this girl were talking and chilling out a lot together. What could this mean? I never had similar dream ever.
From Comes Aposta. So this is a dream that I made like 2 days ago, and it freaking cursed as hell. So it all starts with me being on a bus, like a normal Italian bus, and looking outside the window. I was on a jungle. There was like other 10 or 15 people on the bus. And after a bit, the bus crashed into an abandoned building. We all get out the bus, and I start going around the pieces of rock around the bus. Then so casually, my views start literally dying, slowly not seeing anything. And after a bit, I wake up. I woke up in my mom's house, which I live with her. And slowly my view recover. I get up and walk to my mom room. I walk to her that was already woke up and look myself at the mirror to see that I was pantsless and without underwear. My mom laughed at me and walked to the balcony of her room. I was as hell confused, and I walk back her and talk to me a little before I go to my room. So for trying to not get banned from this server for things in the dream, I'm just going to end it here. Don't ask about why I was without pants and underwear.
From Seeing Pink Elephants, I dream every night. I never have nightmares. My dreams can be happy or mundane. They're usually very vivid, and I like being in them. I've come to learn that I'm pretty lucky to rarely, if ever, have a nightmare or paralysis. I've been sick for the last 3 days. Flu, cold sweats, chills, all the fun stuff. I thought I was better yesterday, but then I woke up today and realized I had 2 dreams. Then I realized that for the last few days, I haven't had any dreams. Does that mean I'm no longer sick? I tried to Google, but it just kept suggesting articles on fever dreams.
From PHX Native 23. I had a dream that my GMMA for context, who raised me and passed away 20 years ago, surprised me at a movie with my wife and best friend. It felt so good to give her a hug and say hi, like she was really there. I was surprised that I'd seen her older in my dream. She aged with me and looked older than I'd remembered seeing her, wondering if anyone knows any significant meaning from this dream.
From No Consequence 5181. The dream starts out with me running from something/someone out on a street. am quietly running through a small neighborhood with nice, almost Victorian-style houses. It's dark out and kind of foggy. This is all in first person, like through my eyes. I see this pale yellow Victorian house. It's not crazy big and it's gorgeous. I see that they have some cellar doors at the side of their house, so I decide to try and see if I can hide down there. I pull on one of the doors and it opens, so I pull the door shut behind me and go down the stairs. I turn a corner and am at the end of a long hall. It's all dark mahogany wood with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with books. On each side of the hall, there's 2 bookshelves, and then a little mahogany wood table with a banker lamp on it, one of the gold ones with a green glass shade and a gold beaded string, and then 2 more bookshelves, and so on. One of the weird things is that there's little stained glass windows over the table and lamp. But I'm underground, which maybe my dreaming brain can't comprehend that a cellar wouldn't have windows. I don't know. So I walk down the hall, just kind of taking it all in, and I can see a big mahogany wood door at the end of the hall. So I slowly walk up to it, and the dream ends. I have never seen what's on the other side of the door. Never find out who was chasing me. Nothing. I love the dream so much because the library hall is beautiful. I don't feel any anxiety there, or any negative feelings. Just wish I could get through the door. At one point I was trying to figure out how to lucid dream so I could go into the dream and do it. But I decided to just let my dreaming brain do what she needs to do.
From Surreal Ophical Cave. A few months ago, I had a dream where I was walking down a dirt road. Suddenly, I was being chased by 2 very fat men. One had the slaughtered head of a pig on his head, and the other had a zebra head. There was blood everywhere on their bodies. They were both carrying machetes and were running very fast for their size, and eventually cornered me in an old ramshackle house. They put me in this rusty cage, and that's where my memory stops. It was so vivid, though. I hadn't had a nightmare for years at that point, so I didn't really know what to make of it. Anyone have some thoughts?
From Professional Grade 826. I've just woke up from the most awful and upsetting dream where my ex beat me black and blue and left me for his ex who he had got pregnant again. This didn't happen in real life. In the dream, me and my ex were still together, and he kept avoiding telling me the truth about what was going on, to the point where he recorded a cryptic video for me to watch of him and his ex, and I kept trying to contact him via video call. When I confronted him, eventually in person, he beat me so violently I couldn't walk. His mom was also there and could see the bruises, but wouldn't believe what her son has done to me, and said that the relationship had come to an end because of the distance, which makes no sense as we live close. This was such a horrible dream, I actually woke up sobbing and near on having an anxiety attack. My ex was not physically violent towards me in real life, but he was emotionally manipulative and had another girlfriend for 5 months of the time we were together. I've been struggling a lot with the breakup for obvious reasons. What on earth does this dream mean? Am I just working through the breakup in my subconscious mind?
From Neon Persnickety. The worst dreams I had when I was a child was the ones where I was left alone by my family. I remember a particular one where I was in my couch. It was a bright day outside, but inside the house was a bit dark. I never leave the couch. I looked left, right, where was the door, and saw no one. Then I started to cry. There was no one home, and as I yelled to my mom and grandma, no one answered. In the dream, I just knew they left me. There was another one, where I actually woke up with tears in my eyes after crying a little, where I was walking on the street with my mom, pretty vivid. It was exactly the same street we passed every day to go to school. We were walking together, then everything slowly became black. My mom disappeared, and only left me in the dark. Suddenly, everything came back to normal, and I was again with my mom. I guess I always feared to be alone by my loved ones.
From Chen 19921337. This was literally one of the best dreams I ever had. It felt mysterious and majestic to look at that insane tower structure in the long distance. What could this dream mean? It felt like I had released some DMT in my body. If anyone curious how I made the image, I used the DAL-E image generation tool, and over 10 iterations, I came to the final result, which is about 90 to 95% close to what I saw in my dream.
from Milk Milta, I had a dream where I met a writer of a book called The Teller of. Can't remember the word right now. And for some reason that triggered something in me similar to a trance. I wasn't really aware of what was going on in real life because I was kind of dreaming inside the dream of what was going to happen immediately after I got out of the trance. When it finally wore off, I was walking alongside my partner and the writer as if I was going to university, and what I had been dreaming about started becoming true. It just felt so different to any dream that I've had before, because when I got into the trance, I felt kind of cold, which usually makes me wake up instantly. But I also felt a very intense physical reaction that I can't really describe. I'm usually able to get in touch with deep emotions when I'm dreaming, but this feeling wasn't something that I've felt before in real life. It was as if my body could tell that something tremendous was going to happen, but also a lot more than that. IDK if any of you are into more esoteric stuff, but I felt like this dream was really different to what I usually experience. If it's of any use, I had also bought an Angelite stone bracelet yesterday. The last few days have been filled with weird coincidences and universe-like signals.
From Nizuni, I remember I had quite a longish dream last night, but I can only remember bits and pieces, and TBH, it wasn't that interesting. The part that interested me a bit is that I did my awake check in my dream for seemingly no reason and woke myself up. This isn't that interesting, SP compared to other experiences I've had, but I've never ever just done one for no reason. I've always done them right before. Okay, my dream is going to turn into a nightmare, or in the middle of a nightmare. My awake check is counting my fingers. What I remember is waking up, and my mom woke up at the same time and we both went downstairs. Nothing felt weird or anything. I was in the living room and my mom walked into the kitchen, and right before I sat down, I just thought, something doesn't feel right. And then I checked my hand and counted 6 fingers. I remember counting twice before I woke myself up. I'm kind of confused. BCS, nothing in the dream had indicated to me that it was gonna turn scary, but maybe my dream self knew better? This isn't super interesting, but I've just never done an awake check in a dream that seems normal before. So it's made me interested, and also kind of freaked me out for some reason, lol. I've never fully lucid dreamed, but I've had seconds of lucidity. Usually these happen when I'm aware I'm dreaming, but I have very limited control over the dream before I wake myself up. From Passing Info 2. For about the last several months, I've had that dream I mentioned, where I live with my family again, when growing up, and I forget my cat in my closed room for what feels like days or weeks. Probably dreamed it like 15 or so times that I remember. I remember him out of nowhere and run to him, and he's malnourished and skinny, but has always been alive. While sometimes there are other cats around him that have died from my forgetfulness. My cat is 7, all black, and he's always a kitten in these dreams. Once he was a little bigger, but never as big as he really is. And the dreams vary from a few more cats being around him that do end up dying, while he doesn't. Sometimes the kittens are different colors, sometimes all black. The location is odd because he's always forgotten in my room from childhood, but I'm living in that house again, but he feels far away. Like I was only supposed to leave him for a few hours. I had a very turbulent childhood and had to call child services on my mother when I was a teenager. I went into foster care at 15, so dreaming of living with her again and being back to my childhood home is always very distressing for me. The house I'm in varies, but it's always me living with my mother and siblings again. Long story short, last night I dreamt I'd forgotten him, and when I got to where I'd left him, he was dead. But it wasn't him, it was a white kitten with black tiger stripes. But it was my cat. It felt he was mine, and for the first time I was devastated because I was too late. Any ideas on what this could be about?
From Breaking Yo-Yo. I have been having recurring dreams of looking up in the sky and planets seem so close. Everything looks so large in comparison to me in the dreams. Something along the lines of the attached photo. I watch a ton of space movies, videos, and that's probably the reason why. But the reason I'm posting this is because by the end of the dreams, the space I'm looking up at always ends up closing on me in the most terrifying ways possible. It's like super awesome to see in a dream, but so terrifying at the same time.
From Living Tax 2680. I've just woken up from a terrifying dream. I was doing something in the dream and then realized I'm imagining it, and that it was a dream. So I decided to do something unpredictable. I punched someone I was in the dream, and then I was just thrown into a different world. The background noise was a broken TV signal, and some women was talking in the background. I was terrified. I tried to wake up as hard as I could, but I just could not. I tried opening my eyes with my fingers, but I just couldn't move them. I was scream as loud as I can, but could scream IL. I said to myself, take a deep breath and wake up. As soon as I did that, I was launched into a different world again. I don't remember much, but I remember there were loud, unpleasant noises, and I again tried moving and failed. After screaming and trying to break free for what felt like 10 minutes, I finally woke up. I slept for 40 minutes. Can anyone explain what was that? It's been an hour, and I'm still scared from what just happened.
From Fuhar Spybeam. Back when I was maybe 7 or 8, I used to have these weird dreams that really messed with my brain, I believe. These dreams would start out normal, but then all of a sudden, there's this one part where I'm in a hallway in my old primary school, and all of a sudden, these optical illusion-looking things just appear, and everywhere I looked, it was just zoom itself in and make itself look bigger or whatever. When I'd wake up from that dream, I would feel headaches, nauseous, and anxious. I've only had this dream like twice or 3 times within like a year, but I never had it again. And to this day, I've always wondered what it would have meant.
From Dualfall. I'm watching a television with friends in some liminal dining space of an empty off-yellow restaurant. I notice it's the classic turn-of-the-decade era Disney TV show, The Sweet Life on Deck. Filled with nostalgia, I am immediately absorbed into their wacky scenario. What did Zach do to ruin Cody's day today? They appear to be hiding with the rest of the cast down in the engine room. Things are tense. They're trying to shake a Soviet battleship, and they have no means of fighting back or defending themselves. Cody asks if Zach did what he told him to do. He replies with a proud yes and explains how he fucked up bad without realizing it. Cody becomes pissed, and Zach realizes his mistake. The mood is extremely tense. Everyone begins to silently come to terms with their fate. Before forgiveness is found, the camera cuts to a silent, peaceful view of the ocean. Credits roll. The finale of Zach and Cody concludes. That's the end? They just fucking died? I exclaimed in simultaneous agony, frustration, and absurd amusement. Then I woke up feeling unsure as to whether I felt like laughing or crying.
From Bubba Sabath. I often have dreams that take place in a familiar setting, although I've never been there in real life. It usually starts out pretty normal, and then quickly turns into a nightmare where I need to get away from someone or something. I often wander through a forest that feels quite eerie, but magical at the same time. I create relationships with people and things here, and experience all sorts of emotions, such as fear, love, and excitement. I then usually find myself in an all-white building that must be about the size of 5 shopping malls. Kind of reminds me of a spaceship, the isolation, a jail, a school, and a mental asylum. It's usually pretty full of people. Most of them are an authority figure, I assume, and I kind of just, again, wander through. There's always a feeling of angst and fear. I know I am not welcomed there, but I feel attached to the place. I recognize patterns, such as I realize I am in a dream, and then I somehow end up in this building, or I am in the building being chased, and I find a way out, then die, or I'm in the building and become conscious during my dream, then wake up in sleep paralysis. I'm not sure what to make of this dream other than so many of mine end up in this place one way or another, and it's usually never a good outcome for me. More about the building. It's massive. I've only ever been in a few rooms, the main room, a massive 5+ story open concept, almost a lobby area, if you can imagine that. The hallway, like a prison, a bunch of cells on either side with glass that you kind of see in, but not really. The gymnasium, which I kind of only remember attempting to escape from. And the lot, which is basically a hangar from an airport. Once I reach this area of the place, I'm usually either in severe danger from people trying to rob me, mythic animals and creatures trying to kill me, or guards trying to shoot me. I really don't know if this place is real or what they're hiding. I don't know if this is a dream center, a waiting room, a dream jail, a heaven, or if I was able to slip through the cracks in my dreams to see a higher state of consciousness where dreams come from. I doubt I'm special, but have been having a hard time coping with the things I've seen, the relationships that were never real, the loves I've lost in this place, and the real fear I've dealt with. Dreams are dreamt to die in this place. Let me know, Elle, if anyone has ever been anywhere similar to this, or knows what this place is, or why I keep dreaming about it.
From MX Black and White. Last night, I had a dream that I fell a very long way through an open sky and landed in a very ornate throne room. The Egyptian god, Horus, was there, falcon head and all. He put his hands on the sides of my face and said, "Be cautious in your anger, else you may find your enemies indiscernible from your friends." And then I woke up in a cold sweat and wrote it down. I have no idea where this came from. I was not angry when I went to bed, nor do I get angry often. I have also thought about Horus maybe twice in my entire life. I have absolutely no clue what this dream means. Any thoughts?
From Sydney L. Martin, I had this girl in my life who was everything to me once. That was 5 years ago. I never have dreams about her, but last night I dreamed we were going on many dates, hanging out with our old classmates, and just reconnecting. We had some good times, and I was really excited we were hitting it off again. Towards the end, we were talking alone in my bedroom, and after a few moments, we started making love. Next thing that happens, I am in court, being accused of you know what. She played me the whole time, and my dream really reflects on the kind of bitch she was in my life. So glad I dodged that bullet. Still annoyed that I'm facing time in the dream world. We'll give updates tomorrow about what the sentence ends up being.
From Neon Persnickety. My dreams are very hard to vocalize. Sometimes they are just random images or scenes that already jump to others. One of these times, I've came across a scene where I was at a beach or a desert, and there was a giant witch being pressed on the floor by people trapping her in strings. She was fighting to get rid of the strings as the people around her kept trying to stop her. I remember not being scared at all, but at the same time, I was terrified. I remember her looking at me and growling. She looked possessed. It was awful.
From Coasterfish. A little bit over a month ago, I went to this place called Candytopia, which has various rooms themed to candy, mostly showcasing large art pieces made entirely out of various candies. At the end of the tour, there was a big marshmallow pit you could jump in. There were about 3 orange marshmallows in the pit, and if you presented one to the gift shop, you'd get a free t-shirt. I've seen that marshmallow room in my dream twice in around the last week. Just last night, I was trying to find an orange marshmallow before realizing there were marshmallows of all sorts of colors and other random items too. The dream transitioned from there, and I can't remember the details. Earlier this week, I think I was also looking for an orange marshmallow in my dream. In each of the dreams, the lighting has been slightly off. Everything seemed to be tinted in a bright white light, which didn't look exactly great in a predominantly white and light blue room. I've been thinking about it a lot recently. I assume it's because it was the last time my girlfriend and I went out together before we broke up. I don't think she's been in the dreams though. Does anybody have any other thoughts as to why this keeps happening? I'm sure it's most likely just because I've been thinking about the breakup a lot, but I'm curious if you guys have other ideas.
From Lucky Grawl. I haven't talked to this friend of mine in over a year. We were best friends for more than 8 years. I loved her and had so many reasons that made me make that decision to stop that friendship. I had a dream yesterday where we were waiting in a very, very long line for a minibus, and we were the first 2 in line. I was the first one, and she was the second one. This minibus came that carries 11 people, but in our country we make space to sit 1 extra people to every 2 sit, making the total number of passengers 16 or even more. When the car came, it came on the left side even though we were standing on the right side. There was also a long line on the left side. They were waiting for a minibus, but heading to a different location. So, this guy who helps with organizing the line told us it's our bus, but that it's standing on the left. and we had to go there to get in. While walking, some people skipped their line and got in running. Since I didn't want to go back in line, I ran in and got a nice seat in front of the last row and sat by the window and was denying others of that seat next to me because I reserved it for her. While reserving it for her, two middle-aged women who were heading to a funeral, who looked like they were in a rush, asked if they could have that seat. But I told them I reserved it for my friend, and I started to look for her. I couldn't see her outside. There were others standing, though, so I turned around to look for her behind the minibus. But I found her sitting behind me on the last row, which has 3 seats, and she was the additional 4th person, the extra one. She was counting 200 ETB 450s over and over again. I told her I reserved it for her and to come and sit next to me. But she had this serious face and didn't look up or even gave a respond. She proceeded to count that money over and over again, and the guy sitting next to her laughed at me because she wasn't replying. So I turned around to let those 2 women who were heading to the funeral take the sit, but when I turned around, they weren't there. I lifted my hands from that reserved sit, and some 2 other people came in a rush with a look of relief on their face and sat next to me. It was the last sit left, and the car got enough passengers when that sit got taken, so it started to move, and I just started looking out the window with my hands crossed to my chest. What does this imply? English isn't my first language. This is the best I can do.
Hopefully, you aren't hearing this message because you are asleep, but if you are still awake, I would like to thank you for joining us for tonight's Dreamtime Transmission.